Why Outside Providence?
Well, this is one of my favorite comedies, and it's one of those where every time I ask someone if they've seen it, they say no. I think I found one person who had seen it before I told them to watch it in my life, and they were like, oh my God, I love that movie. And then there's a character that we'll get to. It's the best name ever, Drugs Delaney.
Drugs Delaney's a great name.
I had a feeling you're going to say him.
And when I first got on Twitter, I was going to be Drugs Delaney, and there already was 2 Drugs Delaneys. And A, I was like, thank God somebody else knows this movie and loves this character. But B, it reminds me of one of my favorite jokes in the movie, which we'll get to, about his name. Do you guys remember when he gets the letter?
The professor.
And he goes,
oh, yeah.
Do you know an individual named Drugs? Drugs Delaney? How many individuals' names Drugs could you possibly know? So I got on Twitter and I was like, oh, there's 3 of them.
Do you have a friend called Drugs?
Drugs Delaney?
How many individuals named Drugs could you possibly associate with?
Just one.
By the way, just like one of their best intros ever. 3-legged dog, kid in a wheelchair on a paper route.
I did think the comedy with the kid in the wheelchair was like some of my favorite. Just how they treat him throughout, where they're just he's in the back of the truck.
They don't treat him special at all.
Well, you're my younger brother, so I felt like those scenes were hitting harder for you because you were just like, I've been there where there's like, I'll throw him in the back.
Oh, for sure.
Right. He gets treated like a regular little brother.
Which is great, though.
Yes.
Like, that's how, if I was differently abled, I would want to be treated the exact same.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess we can get right into it. This is essentially a Farrelly Brothers movie without being.
Yes.
And I kind of know why, but I found that out way later. But it's just classic them in terms of that. They've always got, the most famous example, played by my buddy W. Earl Brown, is Something About Mary, Mary's brother.
Oh,
Have you seen My Baseball?
Yeah.
And that's your buddy?
Yeah, and funny thing about that, he didn't get to do any of the press because they kind of liked that people weren't sure if he was an abled actor or not.
Interesting.
He went that far with it. He's got so many great stories. There's a clip I'll show you guys later. It's not super appropriate. It's very dated of him talking about it in an interview. And he's a very good, very serious actor. He plays Dan Doherty in Deadwood.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I love that
watched
show.
Deadwood with Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
He's a very serious character actor. He's in the Star Wars universe, and he played this as straight as possible and talks about it. Anyway, that's a classic Farrelly Brothers thing. Kid in a wheelchair, treat him regular,
Kid in wheelchair is even in Dumb and Dumber.
Yep.
Pretty bird. Yeah. It kind of looks like the same guy.
And also in Dumb and Dumber, they're clearly mentally handicapped. Yeah, they're trying to get the bong. This is such a great high school movie. What the hell are you doing out there, dildo? It's abusive, first of all. Can we talk about that?
That cracked me up that his name, his family name is Dildo.
And the one in the wheelchair is Little Hard On.
Dildo, what the hell are you doing out there?
But the first joke in the movie is, he goes, that's my kid brother. He's in a wheelchair. He had a freak accident. When we were little, we were playing football, and he fell off the roof. That's such a clean joke.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and it really just sets the tone for the whole movie.
Yeah.
And they kind of call back to it when he's on the roof late in the movie with that guy roughhousing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like, I can't believe they're fighting on a roof right now. And it's like, this guy, he's just got roof experience.
And then I love this scene. It sets up, it almost feels like a play. It almost feels like theater, where there's 4 boys of a certain generation, and they're high, and they're having to hear their dad's friends talk about who's gay and who's not. And they drop the bong.
The other guys know what it is.
Yeah, 2 of them, I think.
Why don't you play it? Why don't you play us a song?
Alec, just, what is that contraption? It's a horn.
Yeah.
What in the world is this contraption?
It's a horn.
A horn?
Yeah, like a music horn.
Yeah, it's a horn. Okay, Satchmo, why don't you play us a few notes?
Classic town whore scene.
Yeah.
Bunny Cody's here. She's easy.
Well, this is like in high school, there was always that one bar that you could go to, or like one place that let in younger people that you could go and hang out at.
It's how they stayed open. Yeah. So older people would be like, man, how's that place stay open? I don't even want to go there. 17-year-olds drink there.
Yeah.
Ours was called the Quick Corner Market. Quick and Corner were spelled with K's, and all the K's were larger, and the K in Market was larger. I found this out way later. It was like owned by a guy in the KKK.
Yeah.
I was about to make that joke.
Like, damn, this guy, he just lets people drink here. Yeah, as long as they're white. So what's going on while we watch is they just wrecked the car because they're hotboxing it while driving home from the bar with Bunny Cody, the town whore. Who'd they hit? A cop with his lights on. It's sitcom-y, and it's like, come on.
Well, it kind of reminds me of that 70s show because you got all the like weed,
especially the
influence,
water tower.
The water tower.
So he hit a parked cop car while high after lying to his dad about what a bong is, and now he's got to go to a private school. Another thing I like about the movie is they got him in somehow.
Yeah.
Like one of his buddies knew the judge. It's like these aren't rich people. So it's not just like the stakes just couldn't be higher. This kid has to get his life together, and he got in on a favor anyway. Now we're back at the water tower, and he's telling everyone goodbye. What we got here?
This was hard as an Alabama fan. This was hard for me to purchase.
Oh, that's sweet.
But it's one of the coolest Tennessee hats I've seen.
Yeah,
it's got the state on the side, and I know when I was looking through your tweets, you love the Tennessee Vols more than maybe anyone I've ever met.
Oh, really?
It was so many of your tweets are just like, and it was like stuff like not even football, where you're just like, I can't believe, the Vols baseball team dropped it. I hate Mississippi State, just stuff like that. So I was like,
I'm pretty into the basketball team too, and the NCAA tournament is my favorite sports thing in the world. This is a great gift. Thank you.
Well, you seem like it's such a big part of your comedy and your life, where you're from, and I thought you kind of exemplify Tennessee to me.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, that feels good.
Were you there when y'all beat Alabama 2 years ago?
No, I was at my best friend from second grade on, Brian's house. I think I had a video that went like kind of viral where they missed at the end of that game, right? They missed a field goal.
Right, they did, but it wasn't game over. Tennessee, it would have.
When we got the ball back and we made it,
y'all scored. Yeah,
when we scored, I literally just fell. My wife was filming me, and I literally just fell into the floor. There was no celebration. Like I was with Brian when we won the national title in 1998. We were in 8th grade, I think, and pandemonium, tackling each other. We had like a sleepover, me and all my boys, and it was pandemonium. This, I just fell. Like it was like I couldn't believe it. I still can't. I watched that game. That's how sad Tennessee fans are. We have to go back and rewatch when we beat Bama. We shouldn't have. We got lucky like 4 times in the second half. But now when I say that, we also screwed up in ways we didn't screw up the rest of the year. But then luck swung it back. So it was just like it was crazy. We're at Cornwall.
Yeah, we're at Cornwall now.
We've gotten away from it. So I don't know. I've listened to a couple episodes. I listened to Sam Talent because that's my boy.
Oh yeah.
Do you guys try to keep up with the plot in general?
We go based off of how you go. If you want to talk about the movie, we'll talk about it as much as you want to.
Well, this was. I think I saw this movie for the first time at like 16, 17. I did a thing called Governor School here in Tennessee, which is like a summer program for kids who are like planning to go to college, but they go to a school where like maybe they're not as prepared for it. And I did Governor School for the Humanities. We took like college English classes for 3 weeks. We put on a play. It's the first place I ever really did stand up. Honestly, like that's not what I was calling it. I made up a funny song about a dead ping pong ball because me and my boys were playing ping pong football in the hallways and almost got kicked out because the kid broke his arm.
Football? Just football with a ping pong ball?
Yeah. And a kid broke his arm.
No.
You almost got kicked out?
But anyway, I bring all that up to say, like, I saw this movie when my parents and my teachers and just the things that were going. I was like a straight A student. I was the valedictorian of my very small high school class. I didn't have to go. Like, he's forced into this situation because he was smart. I wasn't as cool as that guy. But, like, I really identified with. I think they do class very well, the Farrelly brothers. And, like, a lot of comedy movies will shy the fuck away from that. This movie had it, though, and here we are at Cornwall. Fuck these people. I was already in. Like, I was so in with this kid sitting on his bed making fun of Cornwall.
Yeah, making fun of Jizz.
Yeah. Well, Jizz is his boy, though. Well, not at first.
Not at first. They become boys.
Well, they realize they have something very specific in common.
Yeah.
Which is everyone here hates us. And again, that's like how people should feel about rich people. We should all recognize that they hate us.
Yeah. I was like, when he stood up at first and they were like calling him Jizz, the first guy that said it, I was like, that's hilarious. And then they kept doing it. I was like, oh, that's his name? I was like, that sucks. Like, I've heard a lot of terrible nicknames. That's a tough nickname to have.
You go from drugs being the coolest
Yeah.
to jizz. You're like, ooh.
It's great when drugs and jizz meet for the first time later.
I felt the same way
It's
in
always
my
been
life.
fun when I've combined the two as well.
That's so funny because you said that about being named that. I know one girl whose name is Jazz who had a very wild period. She's a friend of mine now. We're in our 30s, but when she was in her 20s, she had a nickname of Jizz.
Yeah.
It's like that's the only other person. It's like, yeah, it's not good.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she combined drugs and jizz all the time too.
It's not something you put on a resume.
No, that's so funny. It depends on what job you're going for, you know.
The main character in this, I think, it's the only other thing I've seen him in is Dexter. He plays a guy named Boyd Fowler in Dexter.
You talking about the guy who plays Dumpy? Him?
Yes. Well, in
The serial
Dexter-
killer show Dexter?
Yeah, they just put it back on Netflix. So I was rewatching it, and I totally forgot. He's in a whole season of it, and I totally forgot it. And I don't know if it's like his later career. I don't like him as an actor. It's something like he smells bad. I can't explain it. There's something
He
to
does
me
smell
when,
bad, yeah.
Like when you know how there's certain things where you're just like, I just don't like there's some character like their movies can be bad, and I'm like, I just like that actor. Like, I'll give it a chance because I like.
He's
that guy.
huge now, but that was Goggins for people before he blew up.
Walton Goggins.
Yeah, people would be like, God, every time I see. Now, of course, the world knows, but there was a solid decade where Goggins was getting work, and people didn't. He wasn't beloved yet. Where it was what you're describing, where people were like, God damn.
I know
every
what you
time he's on
mean.
screen.
Because Django, I feel like he's just so despicable where people weren't giving him praises at that point.
Right.
God, he's
We were
so
talking
good,
about
though.
Boyd Fowler. Boyd Crowder is
Yeah.
Walton's other character in Justified, and he's just incredible in that.
He's so good in that. Well, that was when that like started to launch him. Before that, he would have bit part, like he would be in 2 episodes of a show.
Yeah.
He would be in this movie. His first thing that I ever saw him in was a short film called The Accountant. Has nothing to do with the Ben Affleck movie. That
Oh, yeah.
that director, it's my wife's favorite director. Why is his name escaped me? He might be from Alabama.
He's from Birmingham.
Birmingham. What's
Walton Goggins is.
his- No, I'm talking about the director. The director might be from Alabama too.
Walton Goggins is for sure too.
He did that show Rectify.
Ray McKinnon?
Ray
No?
McKinnon.
Yeah.
He has a short film and won the Oscar for best short film that year called The Accountant. Walton's in it, and it's unbelievable.
Okay.
It's like 32 minutes. It's on YouTube for free now. I recommend everyone go watch it. It might be my favorite thing. I'm so ashamed I forgot his name when I'm about to say this. It might be my favorite thing anyone's ever, like movie or short film.
How long is it?
It's like 32 minutes. Mm-hmm. I'm going to name drop. I apologize.
Go ahead.
But this is who summed it up best for me. Patterson Hood. It's also like one of his favorite things ever. And Ray's like one of his favorite directors. And he's like gone to Q&As and paid money to meet him. Like he's been a total fan. Patterson Hood, the front man of the Drive-By Truckers. And Patterson said he did in 32 minutes what I feel like I've been trying to do my whole career. Like everything that 32 minutes expresses is everything I've ever wanted to do with art. It's all there in 32 minutes.
awesome.
And he's in it too. Ray's the director and writer, and he's in it.
He's the
He
accountant. I
plays
was looking at the
accountant.
calves. Yep.
The whole thing is 2 brothers are trying to save the farm, and they're disagreeing about how to go about it. And the accountant comes in and explains to them how they might do it in less than straightforward ways.
Mm-hmm.
He seems a little autistic. It was before that word was so in vogue. The accountant does, and he says things like, you lose an arm, that's $100,000. $100,000 gets you through the next 3 years. Then what are we going to do? You're still going to, like, it's just.
You made a good point though. I got a lot of friends that I know that are comics, and all of a sudden when they bomb, they start telling people, "Oh, I'm autistic," and it's like, no, you're just not funny.
Yeah, it's strange how we're all on the spectrum now. I go back and forth between everyone's need to stop self-diagnosing, and then sometimes I swing the other way where I'm like, we are all autistic.
Yeah.
There was this girl recently that we were drinking, and she just kept telling, just like almost yelling at me, like, "You're autistic. You're autistic. you are absolutely autistic. And I started to get a little like annoyed by it, but then I'm like, I don't know, she's probably autistic. The way
Yeah, she got fixated or whatever.
yeah, she just kept repeating it.
I had a joke about it where I would say, I know everyone says they're autistic, but I say it on podcasts and on stage all the time, and autistic people don't correct me. They don't accuse me of stealing valor. I'm pretty sure that means I'm at least half. Like, if cool white people are invited to the cookout, I'm invited to the D&D game.
Yeah.
Like, I got one friend, Sarah, started out as a fan, just been to a lot of shows over the years, worked with her a little bit. She's a writer, and she's autistic. And she's like, look, I'm not saying you are, but you got like 3 out of 5, buddy.
Hey, you're cooking.
She's like, you're really good at masking if you have it, and that might be why you're good on stage.
I took a test online, and it was like the results were like
Inconclusive.
It's just an internet test. Like, yeah, you should probably go see a doctor.
What are you thinking, idiot? That's so funny.
This is so great when they're reading the letter and then cutting to him writing it and him passing out, and then it's like, oh wait, a couple hours later.
I thought it was my favorite part. I mean, it's just so funny.
Drugs Delaney, the actor, the character, the name is perfect.
It will even everything about it. He's got the incense and the weird candles that are burning. He's the tapestry.
He's really sweet.
He is sweet.
He's one of the sweetest men in the whole thing. Like, he takes care of his little brother.
He's writing him a letter.
He's writing him while he's away. When they were at the rock and disco, everyone was making fun of disco and calling it gay. He was like having a good time until they made fun of him, and then he got sad. He's a sweetheart, and he's talking about how he just stink fingered Bunny Cody. He had to go last because he's the sweet guy.
Yeah.
She went through all the assholes.
Stink fingered was an incredible adjective.
So great.
Drew, the next thing, got you.
Oh no, we got more than one.
We're talking sports. Got you some rookie cards.
We have the Happy Gilmore rookie cards, both with the Wolverines and on the PGA Tour. I don't even know where you got these. Are you aware of my history with this movie?
Well, I saw that you met Adam Sandler. He came to one of your open mics, but please tell us about the...
It was not an open mic.
Oh, really?
Adam Sandler was on the same show as me at Largo in L.A. So when I was with the wellRed Comedy Tour, there was a moment where we were like this close from being like, me not being in this room, fuck you guys, who are these people messaging me?
You're still in that category, to be honest with you.
No, you guys got a great lineup. But I just said it to illustrate, like, we had sold a pilot to ABC. We had a regular show there at Largo. Trey obviously was the driving force, and I'm not trying to pretend like that's not the case, and he still is quite famous in a niche way. But we had the show at the Largo, and like Neil Brennan came by and did it. Zach Galifianakis, like,
that's awesome.
We were hot for a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And we were good at stand-up at a time when the online thing was just starting to happen, and a lot of people who were great online weren't good at stand-up. So LA was really like, the liberal redneck guy's hot, and also they know how to do stand-up, and they have ideas, and they've written stuff. Anyway, that's me setting the scene. But when Sandler came through, it still was a big deal for us. Of course. We had met Neil Brennan. We'd met Whoopi Goldberg. We had done shows with these people. We were starting to feel like we were professionals. But it's Adam fucking Sandler, dude. Well, when I was in high school, I would watch movies in the basement. And I had a girlfriend. I got a girlfriend very early.
Stink fingered her.
To Billy Madison.
Actually lost my virginity.
Oh, I did see that.
To
Happy Gilmore.
And I told Adam Sandler that. I thought it would like amuse him. And it made him so fucking uncomfortable. I don't know if it was an age thing. I don't know if it's because I said it too early. Like, hey, nice to meet you. The show's here. Here's the green room. Thanks for doing it. Buddy, here's how big of a fan I am. And I said it, and he just goes, well, okay. And he just walked away, dude.
Scooby-Dooby-Doo. It's so funny. So I saw you. The reason I gave you that, I saw you the Instagram it, and you had that. You said I just told him this, and I was like, "Is he serious?" And so I had to know that story. That's great.
Yeah, I told him to his face that I lost my virginity to your movie because we go in the basement and pretend we were watching the same movie. We must have watched it that summer. You know, how many days are in the summer? 97 times, and eventually, hit a home run, and he didn't like it. And I gotta say, if I ever make it to the point where there even is a movie about me, I'll be thrilled. But if somebody ever told me that, it would make my year.
They didn't even have to lose their virginity.
Yeah.
They just like have sex to your movie.
I'd be like, "What scene,
Dude, yeah. that's hilarious. It's like, well, took me a while to get her to agree. So 26 minutes in.
The alligators.
Yeah.
26 minutes to about 28 minutes."
I was gonna say, yeah. Minute 27, we were done. I just remembered, or whatever. Remember's not the right word. I started like a fake cult during the pandemic called the Church of the Eat Fruit and Fuck, which is essentially just my podcast fans. And two different times people who met through that have fucked and told me, and it's made my life.
You're just bringing people together.
Dude, I love it.
I love the idea of starting a podcast is pretty much starting a cult.
Yeah.
We're all trying to get followers.
We have a cult.
That was the whole thing.
We have a few followers.
I had it with my buddy DJ. We had a podcast called Into the Biscuit that we started right before the pandemic hit, like about mental health. It was like, we're going to be goofy but dark. Then things got so dark, it wasn't fun to be dark anymore. And we were like, fuck it, we're starting a cult. It was fun. All right, here's a fun story. We had this show. It was like a fundraiser show we were doing for this rad anarchist, like raising money for poor people group in Kentucky. And then also, weirdly, these like researchers from NYU were there doing stuff on how, I guess, rural jails, we're going to get real serious for a second. Rural jails now have more inmates than prisons per capita. Like rural America now has more people incarcerated than the cities per capita because of the opioid epidemic and the war on drugs, I'm putting in quotes. So they were there doing some kind of research related to that or whatever. And then we met them, and then they came to our show. And when they came, this dude was sitting there drawing a possum. It was my buddy John. And they were like, "What's that?" And he goes, "Oh, that's our God." And she was like, "What?" And he goes, "Oh, we're in a cult." He just was like having fun, like talking to her. Well, then that night, they came to the Huddle House where me and DJ were eating after our show. They watched our show. They had a good time. And then we just happened to be at the only restaurant open in this little town, you know? And they asked us about that. And we're explaining to them, we started a cult as a joke. It's just a joke, but some people take it more seriously than others. It's called the Church That Eat Fruit and Fuck. Our only rules are eat fruit and fuck, but only if you want to. It's just like a bit. You know, we created a backstory where there's this possum god and Mother Mountain. We're just, it's just like fun. As I'm saying this, we've been on the road for like 2 weeks. And I don't know about you guys, but when I'm on the road a lot, like my stomach gets fucked up, right? So we're at the Huddle House at 3 a.m. I'm trying not to like make it even worse. I had ordered like egg white omelet, and then for my sides I said just fruit, and the lady was like, "You get 2 sides," and I said something like, "Just fruit's fine," but somehow what she heard was 2 sides of fruit. So I'm explaining to these professors from NYU that my church for the eat fruit and fuck is a joke. We don't take it seriously. Don't worry about the guy drawing the god. And then this little country bumpkin waitress with like the weird look on her face, like, "Okay, this is what you asked for, I guess," just sets down 3 bowls of fruit in front of me because my buddy DJ had also ordered fruit. So they're like, yeah, I'm like, the church eat fruit and fuck's just a joke. And then fruit just shows up at my table.
We got to get out of here before he wants to fuck.
The funniest part is the youngest and cutest woman. Everyone was like, "Well, yeah, we get it." And the youngest and cutest was like, "I kind of want to hear more." So some people like jokes, but some people like cults, guys.
Yeah. We're just hoping to get some of them.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
And the only reason we named it that was part of the joke too, is I always said every cult rules when you're just eating fruit and fucking. It's when the Kool-Aid, like it's fun until the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's a good time until the end.
the exam.
Yeah.
We were talking about this.
Oh my God, Amy Smart.
Amy Smart, man.
She's just prime time right now.
She really falls off a cliff. Not here, but like,
I mean, her career or
yeah, like
her
she's
looks?
not, I don't see her. No, she looks
I
still
think
great.
both a little bit. Well, even this movie, I think the most unbelievable thing is them being a couple because
Yeah,
it's
that
like
she
Amy
liked him.
Smart is just she's out of everybody's
Does
league.
she not know how hot she is? That's when I see them together. I'm like, she doesn't know, which makes her even hotter.
I mean, this was also right on the heels of the era where it was just like a classic move to cast an ugly guy, and you know what I mean? It's like the King of Queens joke or whatever.
Yeah.
For sure.
But the thing about that is, everyone would watch those TV shows and go, man, there's no way Kevin James could be with a woman like that. Now, one of the most popular memes is every time I see a couple and it's a beautiful woman and then like a dog with mange or whatever. It's like, yeah, a lot of dudes have personality and can outkick their coverage.
Absolutely.
It's really rare that you see a couple that you're like, they're both equally attractive. You know, it's usually someone's doing better there.
Dude, I try to do a bit about how people have no problem letting you know you're the ugly one if you're the guy.
Yeah.
Tell me all the time. All the
To your
time. Like,
face.
your wife's so much hotter than you. I'm like, I have feelings.
I love Joe List's comment about it where he was just like, you can just compliment her without insulting me.
Yeah.
I saw that. He also said, he goes, this is a good picture. Or I have some other ones. I think women are by and large prettier than us.
Yeah.
I think both sexes and all sexualities and all genders agree with that generally. Generally speaking, women are prettier or better to look at. So mathematically, that's how it's going to work.
Yeah.
If you're a really pretty guy, you don't have to settle down, and most of them don't. So if you are a woman and you want to get married, you're going to have to dip.
I've told every girl, I'm like, if you're attractive and you truly want to get married, go work at a golf course. You'll find someone immediately that'll want to marry you.
And you can figure out pretty quickly if they have a little money or a lot.
Yeah.
Based on like the golf clubs and who they're with.
He's not renting a cart.
That guy's walking. Nope.
Another thing I love about this movie is it harkens back to a time when weed was a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a theme throughout, from him getting in trouble for it, from him like having it and inviting people to smoke. Like, oh my God, I'm smoking weed.
Did you ever get in trouble smoking weed in your youth?
No. I don't think I smoked weed till I was like 20, and it was once, and then I didn't smoke again till I was like 27. My brother was an opioid addict, and I think it just kept me from doing, I was afraid of all that shit.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, I mean, not to make it sad, but when we were talking about drugs, like, it really, like, I had a few friends that passed away, got involved in all that stuff, but it really is sometimes those sweethearts, those sweet guys are the ones that kind of fall into that, trying to.
Yeah.
Buddy, my wife had a friend, and I got to know him a little bit, and he died recently. He was the guy who never left their hometown. He had a party trailer, a drug trailer. She did Molly at 14 because he provided it, you know? But he wasn't like a dude who was trying to fuck high school girls. He was a sad person who was partying in a trailer, and you were allowed to come because he was nice to everybody, you know?
We had plenty of people like that in Coleman growing up. I mean, Coleman was a pretty small town, but we were talking about getting caught. I was 19 years old, and I failed a drug test for a construction company I was working at. I had to go tell my dad. And I'll never forget, I never heard my dad use the F word. He just goes, "You've been smoking fucking drugs." I'll never forget being like, even in that moment, I knew I was in more trouble than I'd ever been in my life. But I was like, you sounded like 1,000 by saying that.
That's so funny.
I have a funny story too. When I was in high school, my friends were like, they climbed on the roof of an elementary school just like around my house and were smoking weed. And I just was like, I wasn't smoking, and I was just kind of like, oh man, I want to climb on the roof of the elementary school. That sounds fun. So I went with them. Well, as we're going back, a cop sees us, pulls his light, pulls us over, and he has all my friends lined up and just going through and like questioning all of us. Like, what are you doing? Where are you at? Well, one of my friends was so nervous and so high, he just passes out and goes face down, and then gets up and just goes, "Oh, there was a rock," and I can't stop laughing. I laugh for like 5 minutes straight.
You're not stoned?
No, I'm not. But when my mom, because he made us call our parents, while mom showed up, he was like, "Your son's definitely high." He won't stop laughing. And my friends were mad at me because all of them were in trouble. I was like, just joyfully like, this is hilarious.
You might be a sociopath. That's wild, dude. How old were you?
I was like 17.
But keep in mind, he was the youngest. And so he grew up around me, and our cousins were all older. So I mean, like, he's so go with the flow because
they're always like this. Every
Yeah.
big brother is just bitter and angry.
Yeah.
We had it bad.
Yeah, I mean, well, I just think he got beat up on, and he was always like exposed to things that he shouldn't have been exposed to at an earlier age.
I get all that, but laughing in a cop's face because your friend passed the fuck out because he's on drugs is really cool. Yeah. Like, that's super cool for a high school kid. At 25, sure, you've been around the block. But 17, you were like, get a load of stoner baloney over here. Can't keep it together in front of the pigs.
It was just so funny too. Just the reaction when he got up and it's like, "Oh, I got this." It was a rock. Like, I don't know. It was just something
You
about
just started
that.
dying laughing in front of a cop. Yeah. Your mom shows up. He's like, "Yeah, he made me call my mom like I'm in trouble." Oh, this is the jizz.
Yeah, just getting caught.
Boy.
The origin of jizz. We didn't get an origin of drugs. I didn't think the writers knew we didn't need.
Yeah, we did. Just by telling us his name is Drugs Delaney, we've got the backstory.
There's also something that I always found so strange. It seemed like, and maybe just movies do this, but I don't know. I feel like in the media you hear about stuff like this. So the backstory is he got his name because he was invited to join a very cool secret club. And then to get in the club, we all had to jack off at the same time in the dark. And then when we all come together, we're brothers for life. And then they turn the lights off. He's the only one jacking off. He
Is
nuts.
that what that Beatles song's about?
Yeah, I think so. Over me. It just seems like there's always some creepy, weird sex stuff going on at these private schools when it's all boys. It's like they have all this energy. They got to put it somewhere. There's no women, they put it right up your butt.
I always thought, when we were watching that scene, I was just like, I wouldn't want to be a part of the group. That would be where I'd go, like, I'm out.
Yeah. Were you guys ever in any, like a frat or anything?
We
like that?
both did the same fraternity in college, and not at the same time, but there was never like, there was always like rumors of stuff like that.
There's
like,
rumors of
the elephant walk.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is like, it's in Alabama where it's like, you know, an elephant's got a trunk, so you grab the guy in front of you, and you have to walk down the street in a line, like human centipede style. And
Interestingly, the only men in the world I would like to see have to go through that are frat boys. But you said it's a myth. No one had to do it, or it's a different frat, or what?
Well, we don't talk about if we did. Nah, it was one of those things. You just heard they're like, if y'all aren't careful, they're going to make y'all elephant walk, and just
Probably a
crap like
different
that.
frat did it or something.
The most fucked up thing that happened was one of my friends got caught smoking weed, and they're like, I mean, they didn't really care, but they just like any excuse to fuck with people. So they made him do a whole eighth of pot and like take it in grabs, and then they put him in a casket and pushed him down the stairs of the whole fraternity house. Just like kept like messing with him while he was in a casket, and he truly was like. He came out of there, we talked to him, and he was just like, I'm never smoking weed again. Like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me.
See, that just like reinforces in my mind how lame fraternities are. Where it's like, that's a shitty thing to do, but it's double shitty that you guys did it to the only cool guy.
Yeah, a guy that can smoke an entire eighth in grabs, and then they just fuck
Well, I
him
guess
up.
you guys essentially did it to him because he got caught, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't like, you're in trouble for smoking weed. It was like, you made us look bad.
Yeah, this was just he was in a different fraternity. He was a
Oh, he
geek.
wasn't in yours.
No, he wasn't in ours. Anything in ours was always like cool.
We did fucking blow, dude.
A buddy of mine when I was in college, we were at some party where they spiked the drinks, or someone had put some drugs in the drink and was trying to give it to a girl, and he took the drink, or the girl gave it to him, and he just came. We were all hanging out at a house, and he busts in and falls to the floor and can't move, and it's just like, I drank some of that drink. I don't know. And like couldn't talk to him floor, and we were all freaking out. We're like, what should we do? And we just gave him weed. He started smoking it on the floor, and it's like, okay, that helps.
There's nothing scarier than knowing you're fucked up and not knowing why, I
Yeah.
think. At Bonnaroo this year, a friend of mine fed me a mushroom, and I forgot. Because I'd been drinking or whatever. And it was, if you guys are familiar with penis envy, it's a very heavy mushroom.
Not me.
Are you guys familiar with it?
Nope.
You guys know
not at
about
all.
this? You guys know about this thing, penis envy? They're very big. They look like dicks. That's why it's called penis envy. Then I did Molly.
Ooh.
And some time passed, and I came up on it, and we were dancing, and suddenly I just felt really slow, which is not what you feel on Molly. And my limbs felt heavy. And for about 3 minutes, I was fighting a panic attack and fighting telling my wife, we got to get somebody. Because I shouldn't. I do Molly like twice a year only, but I've done it twice a year for like a decade now. Well, 5 years now. 5 years now. So it's like, this is wrong. And it scared the fuck out of me. And I walked away from it. I was like, I'm just going to get my head right, which if you party at all or you do drugs, people saying I need to get my head right, it's not that weird or whatever. But I'm like walking around, I'm like, dude, don't be lame. Like, don't be the fucking, you're already the oldest guy here, which, by the way, I wasn't. I was at the Diplo concert. Everyone was a 45-year-old creepy guy. So I'm like trying to, and then I was like, oh, I forgot she gave me that giant mushroom cap. This is exactly what penis envy feels like. Now I'm fine.
Yeah.
Now that I know and I've experienced this before, I'm good to go. But if, like, not knowing, dude, I think that shit's evil. I get 20-year-olds doing it when it's like you just don't, you haven't experienced enough, you haven't thought about that. It's not necessarily evil. But, like, when Ari Shaffir did it as an old man to Burt Kreischer, I was like, dude, that's evil.
Mm-hmm. I saw Bert's wife talk about like having to forgive Ari for all that.
Yeah.
And just like, Bert's got like high blood pressure and all sorts of stuff that she was like, listen, like you could have messed up his medications. But like ultimately she forgave him, and they're like, she said that he like owned it, apologized, and it made me respect him more, even though that whole thing made me respect him less. It was like this weird counterbalance. Like sometimes you do stupid shit, but like how you react and respond to it is what matters.
We can cut all this if you want, but I've really turned a corner on that guy myself, because I thought the Kobe joke was like whatever, but it was just boring.
Yeah.
And then it was like childish. And then that thing he did on his special where he made fun of that fat woman for the first like 7, I found him pathetic, frankly. Yeah. And then he did that to Bert, and I was like, this guy's fucking pathetic.
Yeah.
He's not even that good of a like. Then you start to like all the other things, Then he apologized. Lately, he's been very vocal as a Jewish person about how Zionism and Judaism aren't the same thing, and he is pro-Palestine, and here's why. And it's just the fact, like, whether you agree with him or not, the fact that the dude has the fucking stones to say that, you know what I mean? I'm like, and by the way, I do agree with him, and I don't have any problem saying that. But my point is, I've kind of turned a corner on the guy where I'm like, oh, you are just unapologetic. And sometimes that makes you kind of heroic, and sometimes that or maybe not unapologetic, because he did apologize to Bert. You're honest.
Yeah.
And sometimes that makes you the biggest piece of shit in the world, because we all are shitty, and sometimes that makes you kind of heroic. Anyway, I've turned a corner on
We were talking about Bonnaroo.
Wait. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
This combines two things.
Man, this gift is a towel for those listening.
But it also...
Pretty pumped.
It kind of ties it, because it was a Bonnaroo
I didn't realize you gave
vibe.
multiple gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the worst picture of Nelson?
It's a Bonnaroo Nelson Mandela towel.
Speaking of the worst thing you've ever done. I'm flush. Is my face red?
I know you always wanted a Nelson Mandela towel.
What was it, a podcast or something?
On Are You Garbage?
That's right.
You told them, you had other stuff, but then you're like, all right, I got to tell y'all this Nelson Mandela story about you studying abroad. And
I thought it was perfect for them because the whole framework or context of the story is not garbage.
Yeah.
But what I did was so trashy. I mean, you want to talk about you can't get the Appalachia out the boy. It's okay. For people listening, I studied abroad in South Africa in 2005. And while I was there, I just happened to befriend Nelson Mandela's grandson.
Which is crazy.
He lived in my dorm. Dorms there are called houses, and you have to like pledge them. They don't have fraternities or anything like that.
You got play any fun games like that?
Yeah, probably they did without me.
That'd be hilarious. His name was Jizz Mandela.
Jizz Man. Like one word, and then Della was the last name. That's so funny, dude. It slated me now. I don't even want to tell my story.
Sorry, but
No, I'd rather talk about jizz. Because this story makes me look pretentious and like an asshole, so like a bad person. You know what I mean? Like, so it's all right. Whatever.
You don't have to tell it.
No, it's not that. Honestly, this is something I've wanted to do on stage, and I can't figure out how to get the beats right.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, And you know where it would have been perfect? Ari Shafir's show.
Yeah.
This isn't happening.
oh yeah.
Long story short, I got to meet Nelson Mandela. I got to go to his house. I got to like hear him speak to his people at this big cultural event. And then I got to stay in the Mandela compound. And South Africans, at least from that tribe, they don't build up, they build out. So like we go to his house and like he lived in like for a guy of that fame, like relatively small place, but then there were like what we call guest houses.
Oh, yeah.
There were like 7. And then there was another row of 10. You know what I mean? It was like his whole family was just his neighbors. So I stayed in one of those. And we had gotten to hear him speak, but I hadn't gotten to meet him. So we were going to meet him. And as we're walking in to meet him, Mandela, the grandson, is sort of telling us how you act in front of the former president of South Africa and arguably the most famous civil rights leader of all time the world over. And I know people are going to hear this and be like, no, it's Martin Luther King Jr. It's like, yeah, that's because you're American.
Yeah.
That's like saying Michael Jordan's more famous than any soccer player. And it's like, he's not. He's just not, you know? So as he's like telling us how to act, basically, because Mono's like 30 at this point. He'd gone back to school. So he's like worldly too. He knows I'm a fucking dipshit from Tennessee. So he's like, you know, you're going to go in. There's going to be a row of elders. We're going to start on one end. You know, you shake everyone's hand. You say hello. It's nice to, you know, blah. Like he's telling me how to do it. And then fucking Nelson Mandela just comes out of a room to like we're walking down this hallway with like literal rugs of lions and zebras and shit. It's like gorgeous. And then fucking Nelson Mandela's walking towards us because he had to pee. He had left the dinner table in the hall because he had to fucking pee. And then he sees his grandson who hasn't seen all weekend. So he comes up to him and he's hugging him and all that. Well, now I just have to meet Mandela in this fucking hallway and he had to pee. So like I'm nervous. Well, back then when I was nervous, I'd put my hand in my pocket. So I shook his hand with my left hand in my pocket and my right hand out. And then we meet him and it's like surreal and it's cool. And then he leaves and then his security guy stays and starts yelling in Xhosa. I don't know what the fuck's good. It's one of those click languages. You hear a motherfucker just click, clack, fuck. You could tell. And he's pointing at me. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And this dude is like, he's security. I mean, he's big. He's got a fucking, you know what I mean? I don't think he had a gun, but I do think he had a weapon, like a baton or some shit. And, well, Mandela gets right back in his face. Mandela's like 6'5". He's been on the news lately. And he gets back in the dude's face. He's yelling in fucking Xhosa. So now you got click, clack, back and forth. And I'm sitting there, and all I know is it's about me. So he leaves, and then he's like, all right, let's go eat. And I'm like, bro, what was that about? And he's like, in my culture, it is considered very rude to put your hand in your pocket when greeting someone. And I was like, oh my God, dude, I've offended Nelson fucking Mandela. He's like, don't worry. He is worldly. He knows that not everyone, but that asshole security guard, I had to stand up for you. And I was like, oh, that's cool, man. Okay, but this is where the trash comes in. That's not the trashy story. We were supposed to take a picture with him, and we didn't. And obviously that's like very entitled and American and all that. But that night, me and my buddy Josh, we were back at our little corner of the compound. And he's like, man, we didn't get our picture. I was like, fuck, we didn't. And he's like, you know what we should do? I was like, what? And he's like, and I'm like, no. We had noticed earlier that all the towels were monogrammed with Nelson Mandela's initials. And we had joked we should take one so we have one of Nelson Mandela's towels. And then we were kidding. We were like, we're not going to do that. Then we didn't get our picture, and he was like, we should. And I'm not trying to put blame at his feet. He just saying it. He was instigating me. He knows me, you know? It was almost like, I dare you, and I couldn't resist. So I took the fucking towel. Here's the worst part of the story, I think. I took the towel, I put it in my bag. Next day we're leaving. And we're like walking through that fucking hall again. And I'm thinking about what happened. And then I remember I have the towel. And like a type of guilt washes over me that I don't know if I've ever felt. Maybe I've never fully felt white guilt until that moment. There was like some part of me that was like, oh, you're American and you came here and you didn't get what you wanted, so you took something else. How colonial of you. So I kind of like reached into the bag, was just like, and I just like threw it. Like in my head, this is what happened, but in my head, like behind a lion, you know what I mean? Like a lion's rug or whatever. Yeah. I think I threw it like behind a vase. And we left. And then I thought, they're going to find that. It's going to confuse them. And then because he is, and I can't stress this enough, one of the most famous people in the history of the world, there's cameras everywhere in here. They're going to be like, how the fuck did this bathroom towel from one of the outer homes get into the main hallway behind this vase next to the lion's head? Let's go find out. That weirdo who put his hand in his pocket did it.
That security guard is like, I knew it.
I validated him. He's totally vindicated.
Yep.
At the end of my trip, this was only like a month later, I got a ride from where we were studying, which is Grahamstown, South Africa, all the way up to Johannesburg. I was supposed to stay with Mandla for a week. My trip was supposed to end with me hanging out with the Mandelas. And he ghosted me.
Oof.
Maybe that's why. But I got my Mandela towel now, bitches.
Who got the last laugh?
Yeah. And by the way, I know it's not, but this picture looks so weird it almost looks racist. It almost looks like you did a negative of a black guy to make him look black. I know you didn't. And for people who can't see, that's not what he did. He did nothing wrong.
I bought that towel as is. I had no designing of the towel.
Well, I cherish it, and it may be my totem at Bonnaroo next year.
Yeah, that'll be.
So if you guys want to see me at Bonnaroo, you want to hang out, look for
the racist version.
The sort of psychedelic face of Nelson Mandela. It's blurry-ish enough that I feel like somebody really fucked up is going to be like, dude, I think they're kicking in. Because that towel looks like Nelson Mandela.
Oh, my God.
You see a world leader?
Do I have penis envy right now?
Of Nelson? I bet you do. I can't prove it. I put my hand in my pocket. I didn't get his dick out, but I bet.
You were just feeling yours because you knew how small it was comparatively.
Yeah, that's what it was. That was where my brain was at.
Yeah.
I met one of the most incredible human beings with the most incredible story of all time, and I just thought, man, I bet his dick's bigger than mine.
It's tough being a guy.
That's funny. Yeah, 26, I think, years in prison for being right. Got out and forgave everybody.
Yeah.
He'll probably forgive you.
Yeah, he'll probably forgive you.
Yeah, that's what I said.
That's what you do. You should have kept the towel.
That's what I should have said to the security guard.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you think he's mad I stuck my hand in my pocket? You should have seen what the last group of white dudes did to him. Amy Smart. So hot. Throwing darts at Dave Cassidy. Here we go. I love this, too, because it's like the two worlds got to meet. We got to bring the hot upper crust girlfriend and Jizz to meet the boys.
Did you ever have any worlds colliding like this with different friend groups?
Oh yeah. Let's see. Probably my best. All right, I'll tell the most stark example, and then I'll tell my best story. The most stark example was my wedding, and/or bachelor party. My buddy Kevin Teets, who lives here, he's like me. We met actually at governor's school. The thing I was talking about. He grew up in a trailer. He has 3 brothers. It was a 2-bedroom trailer. His parents are taxidermists. He's a lawyer now, and he's done super well for himself. But at my bachelor party, there was a snake in the woods. We were on a hike. We were in Asheville. We were on a hike to try to find this swimming hole we heard about. And then there was a snake on the path, and he grabbed it by the tail and threw it at some of my law school friends. And one of them, I still to this day believe, shit himself. But that was, and then my wedding was very stark. Like in the lead up to my wedding, we had it where my wife grew up, which is culturally very similar to where I grew up. It's in the middle of nowhere in Tennessee. We took some people out in the woods, and then we took guns and we shot them. not like at a range, like just into a pond.
Yeah.
And I mean, dude, even my college friends, some of them were like, "This is how you grew up?" I'm like, hell yeah, dude.
Dude, this is normal.
And
It's a good day.
and even they were like, "How'd you get out?"
Yeah, and you make it here.
Yeah. I think my favorite story, my buddy Calvin, I played football with him at Maryville, black guy, he came home with me for Thanksgiving, and just seeing Sunbright through his eyes, where I grew up, it's called Sunbright, middle of nowhere. Like, my grandparents, who are super cool, especially for their generation, we were like, there's no black people where I'm from. And so, like, my papa was like, well, you know, I served with colored people. And it was like, and Calvin was like, I know it's a generation thing, it's fine or whatever, but they just had to be like, yep, some of the best soldiers I ever met. You know, just like it was that. This lady at the store was like, oh, hey, Drew. And I barely kind of remembered it. She's like, what are you guys doing? And Calvin's just like a goofy, fun dude. Like, she was nice. And I was like, oh, we're going to go hit the river or whatever. She's like, that sounds nice. And Calvin was like, we got to get these beers first, though. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get drunk. And then she was like, I'll pray for you. And Calvin was like, that lady was nice. And I was like, no, she wasn't, dude. I'll pray for you was a bitchy statement. And then we went on the river, and we had a homemade raft me and my buddy Brian built, and it broke halfway through. And him and Calvin and Brian had to get in one boat, and I had to walk out, and I was going to drive back and get them. A dude ended up coming by on a John boat and picking them up. And he was like, hey, what's up? You know, our buddy left. We lost one boat, blah, blah, blah. And the guy was really nice. But apparently just like picks him up, and it's like quiet. It's like awkward. No one's talking. They're in his little John boat with the motor going back to the spot where my car is. And then he just goes, so were you guys reenacting Huck Finn or what?
Oh, man.
We were talking about like worlds collide. Especially like, man, that dude reads. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a pretty good reference.
I love this scene because it's like a you're a man now scene. It's like I was talking to you like a little boy, but listen, you're on your own now. I know you went to Florida. Everyone wants to go to Florida.
I thought Alec Baldwin in this is like the most emotional performance I've seen him give. Like, he did that part really well.
Yeah, he's like a guy who pretends to be hard. See, he gets him the cocktail. Mm-hmm. He's like a guy who pretends to be gruff, but it's like his wife is dead. He's had to raise these boys on his own. I mean, that's genuinely a great movie. I don't know why it's not rated higher.
This right here, you probably won't, off the top, know what it is.
Oh, a gift I got to also figure out I love it.
Yeah.
By the way, I thought it was one gift. So I'm just overwhelmed and loving this.
Yeah, it's Christmas morning.
You must not have made it very far in the Sam Talent podcast.
That's probably true. Well, and then also, let's say this too. Speaking of getting called out, and I'm not calling y'all out, I'm calling somebody else out. I think one of the reasons I thought there was only one gift is you guys know I have one of your gifts.
Yes.
Yeah.
I found Maddie Smith's fanny pack.
He gave it to her.
I didn't just give it to her. I had to have that custom made.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to be a hit, and she just kind of was like, nee.
Well, I know Maddie a little bit, and I don't think it should. She is the reason she's so funny is she doesn't care about anything.
No, I picked up on that.
I kept it because I thought it was funny.
So this is the actual shirt Joe Dirt wears.
No.
And I saw you talking about how
my God, this is rad.
Joe Dirt is a much better movie than like other. I can't remember the movie specifically.
Slumdog Millionaire.
Yes, that's what
it is. The same plot. They are the same movie. And look, I mean, I realize there's only like 7 or 20 stories or whatever. You know what I mean, depending on which academic person you follow about stories. But Slumdog Millionaire is this. Even right down to Kid Rock. Did you know there is an actor in Slumdog Millionaire who is a Bollywood actor but also puts out records, who has made way more money as a singer? Indian Kid Rock is in fucking Slumdog Millionaire. It's the same movie about an underdog. And Kid Rock goes on the radio, and Slumdog, he goes on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and then you, through the interview, you look back at his life. There's a girl, she's missing. His family abandoned him. It's the same fucking. And by the way, Joe Dirt's better.
Yeah.
Speaking of comedies being underrated like this one is, according to critics, Joe Dirt is fucking great.
Joe Dirt's great.
It's got like a 40 on whatever
good,
Rotten
yeah.
Tomatoes or
Yeah,
something.
they don't know shit.
They don't know shit.
Hear that, critics?
I've wanted so badly David Spade. I went a little viral with it once. I've talked about it on podcast. I've done like a TikTok front-facing camera about it. I think it was like a prompt, one of those influencer type people like, what's a movie that stole from another movie, but no one wants to admit it? And I was like, fucking Slumdog Millionaire's Joe Dirt. And it went viral, and everyone was tagging Spade, and he never responded. And I don't blame him, but like, and I've done shows with him. Spade is one of those dudes where he's not so big that he won't pop in on a show in the belly room at the Comedy Store, or a good show, that's not at a comedy club. If he needs the time, he's running something, he'll go. But he is so big that he'll go up as soon as he gets there, and then he'll fucking leave. I've done 2 shows with David Spade. I've always wanted to be like, well, hopefully go better than my moment with Sandler. I've always wanted to be like, hey man, can I tell you something? I think every Oscar that Slumdog Millionaire won or got nominated for should have been yours. Because it's just Joe Dirt, and Joe Dirt's a better fucking movie.
Indian Joe Dirt.
It is.
That's so funny.
It's so true. Go back and watch it, everybody.
I love this.
Eating
Just
ice cream out of a carton with his underwear off, but his jacket still on.
I assume this was like early in the morning too. I don't know why.
Oh, it has to be.
It feels like it's.
It has to be.
It's either that or he just got off work. He came home, went through the door, and just took his pants and shoes off, nothing else.
No, there's something just very real about that. Like, that's taken from a real life thing, I think.
Oh yeah. Well, so this is. I think it was Peter Farrelly that like wrote this based on his like actual like high school experience or maybe early college experience.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
They were, they've kind of disassociated from this movie.
Yeah, because they wrote and directed it, and then they didn't get final edit, and they made them take their name off of it as a Farrelly Brothers movie. I think it was Weinstein.
Yeah, it was.
Who changed the ending in some way that
he
didn't
changed
like.
a lot of it. He like
Really?
recut it, and like where they were just like, this is not the story. They said they wanted to tell a coming of age story, and they made it more like Something About Mary.
Yeah,
was the exact thing that I read, which is their issue with it. But I think it still plays really good.
Oh yeah, you're saying they wanted a coming of age story?
Yes, more. They had it more. Yeah, and that Weinstein wanted it more.
Yeah,
Something About Mary.
I still get coming of age so much out of it. This scene in particular, he's like basically telling his dad, "I'm leaving," and like I now have self-actualized to the point that I realize I'm on my own, but you can't tell me what to do anymore. You're not going to hit me in the face. And his dad just tells him how to make a woman come.
Oh, yeah. That's a great line.
Yeah.
Making love. It's like Chinese dinner. It's not over till you both get your cookies.
Which is the perfect, like, dad way of saying.
Because you can't say it.
Yeah.
I can't tell you I love you. I can't have a sex talk, but there's things I can say.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great. Jizz stands up for himself.
I love that it was so unexpected that, like, everyone was just, like, proud of him.
And then that fucking rich boy worm rats him out.
Yeah, that pissed me off. He reminds me so much of, like, 80s characters. Like, I know this is a 70s movie. He reminds me of an 80s bully.
Yes. And there's that classic American bully. Do you know the comedian Lucas McCrary?
McCrary? Yeah.
Maybe it's McCrary. I have like done a show with him where I roasted, but I think it's so true. He looks like the hot chick and the bully in an 80s movie.
That's so good. That's hilarious.
Uh-oh, what we got?
Next gift we got for you.
This is a nightlight. Is it Tombstone?
Flip it around. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that rules. It is the Earp brothers and their brother from another mother, Doc Holliday, as a nightlight. This might be the top one so far. I don't know. This shirt's pretty rad.
I just thought you could use a nightlight since you got a little baby now, right?
That's true. I'll put this on the wall. My baby Roscoe. We'll call him Roscoe Earp. Tombstone was my first choice to do with you guys, and then the Casio kid beat me to the punch by like less than a month, I think.
In his defense, he does have a cowboy name.
Oh, yeah.
The Casio kid sounds like a Tombstone character.
Sure. Oh, no need to defend it. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think we would have gotten as many stories because I would have just been telling you guys, like, did you guys know that during this fucking scene? I will tell you guys my my Tombstone theory of men.
All right.
And I don't know if this applies to brothers or not because that's different. But every set of dude friends, like two, one's Doc and one's Wyatt. And you can be Doc in one relationship and Wyatt in another so easily. Case in point, I'm Wyatt Earp to almost every friend I have who's a comedian. Trey Crowder might be the only counterexample of that. Almost every comedian friend I have is insane, a drunk or a drug addict or recovered, and they have to call me because they're in trouble. And they're like, well, you used to be a lawyer. But every law school friend I have thinks I should be in the fucking mental home.
Yeah.
Because I'm their Doc Holliday. I'm their wild card. I'm their guy who's doing things they would never do, but they kind of wish they could, which is how Wyatt secretly feels about Doc. That's why he likes him. Everyone's like, damn, why are you fucking going to bat for this guy? He's my friend. Great line. Hell, I got lots of friends. I don't. That's how fucking Doc feels about him.
Wyatt Earp is my friend. Hell, I got lots of friends. I don't.
Well, this movie, let's circle back to it. This guy is clearly Wyatt to all his boys back home.
Yep.
But he's Doc as soon as he gets on that fucking campus. He's got reefer. He's from the wrong side of the tracks. He's the exciting one. He's the wild card. This fucking dickhead's always picking on him.
I did love the prank he pulled on him earlier with
The mushrooms?
The mushrooms. What happened there?
Oh, that might not have happened yet. What's the prank from earlier?
Well, I meant when he has the lighter to the doorknob.
Oh, yeah.
Makes him
Burned
think
his
it's a
hand.
fire. Yeah, I've just never seen that before. I was like, oh, that's pretty creative. Such a Doc Holliday move.
Yeah. And Wyatt Earp at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Wyatt
true.
becomes more like Doc.
True.
Doc tries to... Anyway.
Last thing we got for you.
Man, this is overwhelming. Okay. Am I on the wrong side of it? Do I need to flip it over? Dude, 4 years, I thought she was naked in this. And I was going to go find it. You know what I mean? And it was almost like, because before the internet. And then one day after the internet, I was in college. For people who don't know, I got the Dolly Parton Playboy, which is, I think, expensive. You guys really shouldn't have. Is this expensive? I feel like it is.
It was worth it to see that look on your face.
I can't wait to show it to my wife. And so then I went and looked on the internet for these Playboy pictures of Dolly, and it starts, and she's pretty scantily clad as the bunny, and you're scrolling, and then you're just like, she didn't.
Yeah.
What a classy broad. This is the best scene in the movie. We gotta stop and talk about it. So we're playing cards back at the house. This is kind of where we started. That joke right there. And then this look, that guy laughs, he's laughing, and then they all laugh. So to explain it to everybody, these 5 friends are sitting around playing cards in the 70s, all men. There was a scene earlier where they found out one of them was gay, and they threw cards in his face because he'd hidden it from him, and they're homophobic, and they kicked him out of the house. There's another scene now where they're all there playing cards, and he's back, but they don't address it at first. You wouldn't even notice. And I love watching the movie with people for the first time where they don't realize that the gay guy's back in the crew. They don't make a big deal about it. There's not a big to-do. And then someone calls another one a cocksucker. And when they do, they all get tight and they look at the gay guy to see how he's going to react. And he goes, oh, what, so it's my fault now? And they all pause. And then one dude starts laughing and they're all like, okay, he's still our buddy. We can bust his balls. He can bust our balls. And dude, I played this movie at football camp for all of the team. My coach let me pick the movie or whatever. And I knew that this movie would be just to the line, but he wouldn't turn it off. There's no single scene. There's no nudity. Anyway, that scene, you want to talk about killing a bunch of 16-year-olds.
Oh, yeah.
So how'd that play? Did they love the movie? How's the reaction there?
Loved it, dude.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever recommended. I mean, maybe they just wouldn't tell me, but I feel like everyone I recommend this movie to, they're like, I can't believe how good it is. And then usually I go, well, it's actually a Farrelly Brothers movie, but they got in a fight with the studio. They took their name off of it, but that's why it's so good because those dudes,
Yeah, they're great.
Were they batting 90%?
Yeah.
How'd you find out Santa Claus wasn't real? Do you have a story there?
I figured it out, and I just told my parents. But the reason or way, when I was little, we would do Christmas at my grandma's with my dad's whole family, and we would open presents, and then we would go over there. And they got tired of, like, we open presents, and then my dad's sisters would start calling, when you going to get here? Mom says we can't eat till you get here. Come over. And my dad would be like, I'm trying to have Christmas. Like, we'll be there at 9:30. Like, nah, you need to come down. So they got so tired of that they moved our Christmas to Christmas Eve. We still do Christmas Eve. And they told me that Santa Claus called them and was like, there's too many boys and girls in the world. It takes me 2 days now. So even Santa Claus has to deal with population growth.
Yeah, that's true.
There's too many boys and girls in the world now. We have to do some of them on Christmas Eve, and we were one of the houses that was picked. And of course, we were fucking thrilled.
Yeah,
So
one day
we had
early.
Christmas earlier. Christmas Day
Santa
early.
loves me even more.
Yeah. We did that for a couple of years. We'd go over to my grandma's. My cousin Chris, rest in peace, opened his gifts there. He would stay the night there. And see, his mom had to call Santa and be like, this is the house he's at. One year, we had done it the day before. He had gotten his that morning. He was showing me like a video game. I was like, oh, dude, I got Street Fighter. Maybe Mom will take me home to get it. We'll play Street Fighter, and then we'll play your video game, whatever it was. And as I was explaining to him why I had gotten my gifts a day early, he was like, what do you mean you got it yesterday? And I was like, well, you know, Santa Claus called Mom and Dad. And it was like, as I was saying it to him, I was like, and then me and him at the same time, he went, and I go, that doesn't make any sense. And he goes, it doesn't make any sense. And he was like, and they called him and told him I live here, but just for this day of the year? And also, if they can call him, how'd they get his number? So we like stormed in there and we were like, Santa's not real. And my cousin Sarah was like, what? And they were like, what? And I was like, that's right, Sarah. Santa's not real. This is bullshit. That was it. And then Mom told me, okay, you figured it out. Good job. We're Santa, but don't tell it. Don't ruin it for everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, cool.
No, that's hilarious.
That's funny as hell.
One time, my mom was telling these people we were camped beside, we would go RVing. Uh-oh, his girl's back. They're going to fuck. She got into Brown, everybody, because he saved the day.
Now he's about to get into Brown.
Oh, hey. Hey-o. There it is. My mom was telling this lady that mosquitoes eat her up. You know, we're at the campsite, we're all getting bit. But not my dad, which is true. This is the part that's wild. Because my dad has blue eyes, and mosquitoes don't bother people with blue eyes. And the look on the lady's face was a lot like that look, is when my mom realized my dad had been lying to her about that for 30 years. I don't think she's ever been angry. When he was a drunk, he cheated on her. I think she was madder in that moment. Where she was like, it was like I was saying with the Senate, as she was saying it, she was like, this is complete bullshit. Douglas!
That always sucks, though. Like, when you say something that you're like, my dad told me this.
Yeah.
And then, like, someone questions you on it, and you're like, oh, man, they're totally right. Yeah. My dad's full of shit.
Waterboy. The great Adam Sandler and Water. My mama told me.
Yeah.
Mama said that. My mama said that. My mama said that. My mama said that.
She's gonna
My mama
say
said that.
Dirtiest joke I ever heard was kind of like that. I was out at a country club with my dad. Like, there's only one in Coleman. It's not even really a country club, but it kind of like is. So my dad would go out there all the time. So I was out there talking to a lifeguard. We were just rapid fire exchanging jokes back and forth. So he told a joke, and he was like, the joke was essentially that this girl and this guy, his dad died when he was really young, and the mom had to tell him, about everything. So she was like, well, I got to tell him about the birds and the bees. So she chickened out at the last second. She just said, don't ever stick your Peter in a girl because there's teeth in there and it'll bite it off. So it just scarred the kid forever. So he grows up.
What a dumb thing to think you can say to a child.
Yeah. So he grows up. He ends up marrying his high school sweetheart, and it's their honeymoon, and he kisses her on the cheek and says, good night. And he rolls over and she's like, what? No, this is our honeymoon. Like, you're going to make love to me. And he said, no, I know all about you girls. She's like, what are you talking about? He said, my mom told me about y'all and y'all's teeth. There's no teeth down there. Go look. So he goes down there and he looks and comes up and goes, well, no wonder there's no teeth. Not with the condition those gums are in.
About halfway through, I was like, did I blink out? Is this a bit we're doing? Because I looked at the TV, I guess, when you said it was a joke, and I was like, someone really told a guy this? And I don't believe this. I'll be telling this later. I'll be like, dude, there's a guy in Alabama. Thought there was teeth in the pussy till he was like 20.
They're dumb down there.
Yeah, they're dumb.
He thought his cousin had teeth in her pussy.
That's the only reason he didn't have sex with her, that Alabama idiot. That guy tells me that joke, and I go, God, that's awful. I was like, where did you hear that? He goes, oh, there's this guy that comes down here all the time, Eddie Canada. He told it to me. I was like, that's my dad.
Great feel-good ending. His dad shows up late for graduation.
I love that he's already out of his graduation gear and in his classic American flag denim jacket.
Yep.
It's like, school ain't changing me.
You graduated from high school, ain't you? I showed up late, missed the whole thing, but I wore a fucking suit. What do you want from me? No big deal. Suppose you're going to tell me this is no big deal? You got into college. You were accepted.
Junior college.
What do you mean I got in? Don't play dumb with me. You got into Rhode Island Junior College. You got accepted. Yeah, they accept everyone, Dad. You just got to sign up.
Shows initiative.
That's my favorite.
No, he doesn't say initiative. You filled out the forms. Showed a little initiation there.
Yeah, initiation.
You're going to be the first Dumphy to go to college. Here comes the little brother. Oh, they got to have the moment first. But he says, yeah, you're the first one to go. You're not going to be the first one to graduate.
Classic little brother line right there.
It's like regular college, where you like stay over. You done good in high school. You gotta shut up, you little hard on.
Yeah.
No, when I still be the first to graduate. You little ball buster.
He was so proud of him in that moment.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right, ass bags, let's get the hell out of here. We got pitchers of beer waiting for us.
I could see you, like, playing an Alec Baldwin type role in a movie.
Buddy, the soft asshole, like the asshole that's soft underneath, is one of like two things I can do well. I can absolutely crush it. And I can make a dickhead funny too. And like I keep telling my managers that, and they keep not sending me on that audition. We did a sketch with Comedy Central, wellRed did. Corey wrote it, and the gag was, it was a translator for generations. So it was boomers will say something to you, and then it'll put it in Gen Z terms. But I got to play a bitter, ornery old man.
Yep.
And it is hard to be what is ostensibly a bad person and make it funny. I think for some people that's hard. And like, I'm just good at it. It was one of the most fun roles I've ever had. He wrote another, he's good at writing for me. He wrote another one where I was a preacher who was completely evil and full of shit during the war on Christmas, but he's like really full of himself. He's like really, what's the word? Self-righteous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just know how to, I know those guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I know how to make fun of them. I'm not a great actor, but I'm good at doing like three things.
You're good at all those skits I watched.
Yeah.
I mean, like, even when
y'all
or
a guy who knew me very well wrote my
Well,
character.
I mean, it comes across that way for sure, because like you felt very natural. Like even when y'all are ordering in the restaurant out in LA and y'all were trying to get just Southern food.
That was the hardest one.
I still felt like it felt very, like watching it, I was like, man, this is awesome. Like, and it just felt very natural.
That's my bit that we turned into a sketch. And Trey and Corey, though, get to play, Trey especially gets to play a wild character. I'm sort of the straight guy there.
Yeah.
Corey and I kind of go back and forth, but anyway, that was the hardest one. And I'm kind of just playing myself.
I thought it was really good.
I wanted to get big because in the bit that I wrote, I get big. I'm very much like, so for people listening, the bit is about suddenly Southerners are in. Every restaurant's barbecue, and it's got barnwood on the wall, and people are wearing mullets. And the joke's 7 or 8 years old. This is back when like hipsters were first starting to wear like boots, and they would wear overalls, and Carhartt was just becoming.
Oh, yeah.
Now it is a huge fashion item, but it was just becoming it. And I wrote a joke about it, and then we turned it into this sketch. And in the joke, I get very like, not even mad. Actually, do you know Michael Rowland?
Yeah.
Seller comedian. He's from Georgia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
He
he's hilarious.
fixed the joke for me. I was doing it mad, and it was doing fine. And he was like, "You sound like you hate the audience." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, look at these kids. They're all dressed like that." And I was like, "Oh, I wrote this for my dad, and I'm channeling my dad. But if I'm in front of hip people, I got to do it slightly different." So then I changed it to like, "I'm not mad, but this is crazy."
Yeah.
Like, you do realize that this racing t-shirt and mullet thing would have got my ass kicked by you, or made fun of at least. And that worked. But anyway, it was hard in the sketch not to take on that persona of like, what the fuck? I had to do it slowly because in the joke, years I've observed this. In the sketch, I'm in a restaurant and I'm going, there's a deer head on the wall. But they serve vegan grits.
Yeah.
What's happening in here?
No, that skit was brilliant. That's part of the reason it inspired that dolly. I know you like dolly anyways, but y'all had that joke about Trey has that dolly tattoo.
With the praying hands on the other arm.
Yeah.
I love that one. That's probably my favorite thing I've done. Here's a funny inside baseball comedy thing, and this is totally like a parallel thinking thing. That's one of those jokes where I knew I had to get it out there, and it took me years. I wrote that joke in 2015. I probably had it ready by 2016 or 17, and then I didn't get it out till very recently. I recorded it in 2020. And then that was our special that wellRed did with Amazon Prime. It didn't come out for a full year. It's one of the first clips I put out. Got about 200, 300,000 views. I was like, all right, that's, I'll try it again later. And then Derek Stroop, parallel thinking, I don't know if Stroop has ever seen me do comedy, has a very similar bit, references many of the same things. The jokes aren't the same. It's just the same premise. I think 7 million in the first 2 days because he got to do it at Just for Laughs. So it was on their platform.
Oh, wow.
And that, it's like things like that can be very frustrating, but at the same time, it's like, it's also cool where you go like, yeah, no, the joke's good.
Yeah.
I like my tags better. I'm sure he likes his tags better. But that's like a fun inside comedy baseball. I think Namish Patel said recently as AI, he's like, we've all got to start writing about our own lives and be less observational. Because in 5 years, AI will be able to do observational humor. Oh, yeah. But it's not going to be able to tell your story.
You got anything you want to promote?
I'm going to be in Florida in November, I know. I'm going to announce a Knoxville show, too. So if you're in around Knoxville, by the time this is out, I hopefully will have announced it. I'll be in Asheville, North Carolina in October. You can go to drewmorgancomedy.com to find all this. You can follow me on the socials. I have a Don't Tell that should be dropping before the end of the year that I haven't seen the video yet, so I don't want to jinx it. But as far as the set goes...
It felt good?
Oh, I'm so proud of it. That's one of the best sets I've ever had.
That's awesome.
I had to follow Jordan Fisher. And you want to talk about somebody around my age or 30, 35 who's just a killer. It was surgical. He was killing, but doing it in the New York way. It was set up, punch, tag, 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 set up, punch, tag, 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 act. It was unbelievable. And I had to comment on it. Like, if I never do that on a regular show. It's like, I'm a comic, fuck the last guy or gal, or friend beyond the binary. It's my turn.
Yeah.
But we're filming. I got to reset this room. I got to do a very cheap move. And I just got up there and I go, can you believe someone that fucking hot is that funny? What a piece of shit. Everybody, he's still in the room. He's like walking back and he's like starting to chuckle. And I go, everyone look at Jordan and go, fuck you, Jordan. And I was like, all right, I'm the underdog. Fuck yeah, dude. Such a cheap move. I apologized to him. I said, listen, that's the best compliment I could give you. I had to do that to save my set, and then I just murdered.
That's awesome. I don't think that's a cheap move.
It's a totally cheap move.
Nah.
It is. Because what I did was, most comics wouldn't mind because they're off stage.
Yeah.
But what it did was it made me the underdog with the crowd against the last guy, It's not cheap like shitty. It's cheap like it's almost hack.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That's fair.
It's like, you didn't think your first joke was going to get... No, motherfucker. I just watched what you did. Yeah. That's the compliment that I'm giving to you. That was me sucking your dick. Fuck you is the nicest thing a comic can say to another comic.
I get that.
Well, sorry, I went on a tangent at the end. We were just trying to plug our dates. No. I got a podcast called Gravy Baby I'm very proud of with DJ Lewis, who is just so funny and so insane. And Carmen Morales, who's also so hilarious and less insane. You guys can listen to. I still do the wellRed podcast with Trey Crider and Corey Forrester. And that's about all I got to plug, man. I got a baby, and if you guys don't like him, everyone listen, you can suck my dick. He rules. I have the best baby in America. Best white baby. I'll put him up against every white baby right now.
Watching movies till we die.